Is there a chance we could stop interrupting the football for those practicing Ramadan Ding Dong to have a little snack or a little drinky drink? Like, I totally respect everybody's right to believe what they like, whatever your religion is, I don't care. Whatever you identify as, I don't care. I'm not even that interested in the football. I'm just saying, football.
Things just got messier. Katie Hopkins is calling out Keir Starmer, and it's going to leave you speechless. From sharp criticism to brutal honesty, Hopkins isn't holding back, and she's not here to play nice. Starmer's political games, she's shredding them. The real question is, can Starmer survive the heat, or will he get burned by Hopkins' savage takedown? If you thought you'd seen it all, think again. Get ready for a clash of titans, where the truth is laid bare and no one's safe.
Breaking news here in batshit bonkers Britain, where the Birmingham bin strikes continue apace. You know, Birmingham is actually run by Labour Council. They've been bankrupt forever. They're completely inept. And now there's mountains of rubbish all over the place and no one's doing anything about it.
Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe, because you know you don't want to miss out on this one. Katie Hopkins is known for many things, but let's not forget her undeniable ability to stir the pot. She's the queen of controversy, and when it comes to calling out people in power, she doesn't just talk the talk, she walks all over it. So when she set her sights on Keir Starmer, the so-called leader of the Labour Party, it wasn't just another critique. Oh no, this was open season on the man who can't decide what he stands for.
In other news, local theatres in the UK, sponsored and funded by the government, say they're running out of cash and can't put on any new plays. An obvious solution to that would be to stop cancelling people, allow people like me to bring my show to your theatre that I help pay for, and I will sell out the place. I will bring you a record bar take. I can keep you in business for the next 6 months.
First, let's get one thing straight. Starmer's political career can be summed up in a few words: a confusing mess wrapped in a riddle that no one, including Starmer himself, seems to understand. Keir Starmer, the man who came into power claiming he would reshape Labour, only to find himself twisting and turning like a dog chasing its tail. And what's his big vision for the country? Well, that's as unclear as the fog over the Thames on a winter morning.
Here's the thing, Keir. I've had a thought that fixes a lot of your problems. So, you're looking to put boots on the ground in Ukraine, specifically Kyiv. I thought, why don't you get all the people that had a Ukraine flag on their social media profile? Obviously, they had to take down their NHS one and their LGBTQ one to put up the Ukraine one. But those people and the people who took in a Ukraine...
You could almost feel the sympathy for Starmer when Katie Hopkins stepped up to the mic. But let's be real, Starmer doesn't deserve sympathy. He's the man who spent more time appeasing centrist allies than standing up for the people who actually believed in him. The man flip-flops more than a fish out of water, depending on what way the political winds are blowing. One day, he's a so-called socialist hero promising free everything, while the next, he's offering a seat at the table for the same corporate elites he once swore to challenge. This is the same guy who says he'll fight for the working class, but somehow ends up making backroom deals with billionaires. Does this sound like a leader? Or is this just a guy who's too afraid to make a real decision?
Comrades, my name is Keir Starmer, and I'm here to fuck the foundations. When I became your Prime Minister, not only did I get new hair and glasses provided by a donor who now has full access to 10 Downing Street and my bedroom, we were promised 3 things. Number 1, we would be fully costed and fully funded. Fully funded and fully costed were essentially just like Katie Price, or HS2, or the public sector in Argentina pre-Milei, depending on your sense of humour.
Hopkins, in her usual no-holds-barred style, pointed out how Starmer's leadership is basically a game of political dress-up with no substance. Starmer's entire persona is built on pretending to be the middle ground in a world that's craving something real, and it's not working. His ability to appease both sides has left him stuck in neutral, while the political world speeds ahead. But in Hopkins' world, that's a fatal flaw.
Starmer is failing harder than cheap toilet paper. He can't keep his own shit in order at this point. He's lied about simply everything from pensions to taxation to monetary policy, and now he's going to raise council tax by 10%. He even broke rules during lockdown when he had his vocal coach over to give him some lessons, and she did a pretty poor job because he still sounds like he's got a major stinking cold even when he's denying stuff he obviously did.
The best part about this whole charade is Starmer's attempt to juggle the progressives and the centrists, which, let's face it, is like trying to juggle flaming knives while riding a unicycle. It's going to end in disaster. He promises the world to the left, but when it's time to deliver, he cowers to the centre-right, hoping to play both sides without actually picking a side. This isn't leadership, folks. This is political cowardice in its most flamboyant form, and what's worse is that he doesn't even seem to realise it.
Keir Starmer has been in Italy with Meloni, so you've got a left-wing, radical left-wing human rights guy over with what would be labelled as far-right Meloni in Italy. Now, I appreciate many of you will know much of this already, but it bears repeating at some level. Firstly, Meloni has been very successful at getting migrant numbers.
So how does Katie Hopkins respond? With her usual sharp tongue and unfiltered truths, she doesn't just point out the flaws in Starmer's leadership, she rips them apart like a paper bag in a windstorm. Why are you still standing there pretending to be a leader when your party is sinking faster than the Titanic? She doesn't just call out his flip-flopping politics, she dissects it and makes it look even more absurd than it already is. Let's be real, Starmer isn't just indecisive, he's actively sabotaging the Labour Party by failing to offer any cohesive direction for where the party should be headed. Every time Starmer opens his mouth, it's as if he's just reading off vague slogans he heard on a podcast yesterday. His economic plans? Laughable. The NHS? Don't even bring it up. The man promises to solve healthcare, but can't even figure out how to keep his own party's disjointed mess under control. It's like watching someone trying to fix a leaky faucet by throwing money at it, hoping it'll magically work out. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work like that, and Starmer is too busy being nice to corporate donors to make any real progress.
She asked what we're doing. We're clearing up the mess that they left. We're dealing with global instability, and we recognise the pressures that are bearing down on businesses and individuals and working people.
Now, let's talk about the real reason Starmer's leadership is failing. He's too busy trying to play nice instead of actually leading. That's the kicker. It's not that Starmer doesn't have ideas, it's that he's so afraid of upsetting anyone that he ends up making decisions that benefit no one. He's playing the political game like a puppet, trying to appease everyone, but in the process he's alienating the very people who voted for him. It's a mess, a big, gooey, slimy mess, and the public can see it, which is why his popularity is dropping faster than Trump's approval ratings after a scandal. Starmer can't seem to decide if he wants to be the next Tony Blair or the next Jeremy Corbyn. And in the meantime, he's alienating both sides of the aisle with his half-hearted attempts to do everything and nothing at the same time. Katie Hopkins is right in calling him out for his lack of direction, because at this point Starmer is less a leader and more a placeholder for someone who can actually stand for something.
If you voted Labour yesterday, we will carry the responsibility of your trust as we rebuild our country. But whether you voted Labour or not, in fact, especially if you did not, I say to you directly, my government will serve you. Changing a country is not like flicking a switch. The world is now a more volatile place.
Every time Starmer opens his mouth, it's like watching someone trying to play both sides of a losing hand. He wants to appear progressive without alienating the centrists, but the result is a vapid, weak leadership that's failing to inspire or motivate anyone. This is not the way to lead a political party. This is the way to ensure that your party fades into irrelevance. Let's just call it what it is. Keir Starmer is a puppet on strings, too afraid to break free from the political establishment. If there's one thing that defines a successful politician, it's their ability to make tough decisions, take responsibility, and stand by their convictions. Unfortunately for Starmer, he's about as wishy-washy as a wet noodle trying to hold its ground in a hurricane. While other leaders make moves even if they're controversial, Starmer is too busy sitting on the fence, hoping the wind of public opinion will blow him in the right direction.
Keir Starmer has been in Italy with Meloni. So you've got a left-wing, radical left-wing human rights guy over with what would be labelled as far-right Meloni in Italy. Now, I appreciate many of you will know much of this already, but it bears repeating at some level. Firstly, Meloni has been very successful at getting migrant numbers down. She's done that by, number one, hitting where they leave. So Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, she's making deals with those guys to stop the...
Starmer's miserable lack of backbone is evident in every political situation he faces. He's so terrified of offending anyone that he'll flip-flop on every issue, trying to keep everyone happy and somehow satisfying no one. He doesn't want to make bold decisions because bold decisions might anger his donors, his party members, or the voters who just can't make up their minds. The result? Starmer is a leader who's scared of leading. If you can't make hard choices, if you can't stand by your principles, then you're not a leader. You're a follower. Katie Hopkins, in her trademark style, didn't let this pass. She knows, like the rest of us, that politicians like Starmer are the problem with politics today. They're all too busy playing games, appeasing factions, and ensuring their own survival, while real problems get worse. Hopkins has zero patience for politicians who spend more time pandering than actually solving the issues at hand. She sees Starmer's willingness to bend to the winds of public opinion for what it is, a complete abdication of responsibility.
So with relative efficiency, she's managing to deport economic migrants who don't get to enter Italy. They're offshored in Albania and deported direct from there.
Hopkins didn't just call him out for his lack of commitment, she called him out for being a coward. In her eyes, Starmer isn't just avoiding the hard decisions, he's actively choosing the path of least resistance. That's the kind of behaviour that gets a political career nowhere, and Hopkins is not here for it. She doesn't just criticise Starmer for his lack of spine, she's laying bare the painful truth about how deeply out of touch he is with the very voters who elected him. Starmer wants to talk about progress, but he can't even make a single decision without having it run through a political filter to see if it will upset the right people. His attempts to appease everyone only make him look weak and ineffectual, and that's what Hopkins is pointing out. Starmer is a man playing the political game, but not actually getting anything substantive done.
His meeting with Meloni is not to learn or to understand or to study or to copy methods. It's to give the illusion of trying to do something about it, all the while, if anything, encouraging the movement of more illegals, more profit for his banking masters, his political masters, more profit for himself.
And we haven't even gotten into his conflicting ideologies. One minute, Starmer's the socialist hero promising free healthcare and radical reform. The next, he's pandering to the corporate elite, trying to make sure his friends in the business world stay happy. The worst part is, Starmer doesn't even see it. Or if he does, he's too afraid to admit it. Hopkins, on the other hand, doesn't care about stepping on toes. She's perfectly happy to call out the emperor for not wearing any clothes, to expose the emperor's lack of real ideas and leadership. While Starmer presents a polished facade to the world, Hopkins is ripping it off, showing the naked reality beneath. A man without principles, without vision, and too scared to make waves. Starmer might have made a few bold speeches in his time, but actions speak louder than words, and his actions have been nothing but a steady stream of indecision and missed opportunities.
I'm determined to do everything in my power to galvanise growth. Determined for this country to be the highest growing economy in the G7. That is our most important national mission, because it's the only way to deliver the mandate for change that we've won. Growth is higher wages. Growth is a more vibrant high street. Growth is public services back on their feet, because when working people benefit from that growth.
Starmer's leadership? It's like a reality TV show, all right, but one of those train wrecks you can't tear your eyes away from, even though you know it's a flop. Every time you think something dramatic is going to happen, he pulls the plug at the last second, scared of what might actually go down if he takes a real stance. Starmer's whole political existence is like watching a guy fumble a golden opportunity only to retreat and call it a strategy. Meanwhile, Hopkins is absolutely done with his excuses, and let's face it, that's a problem. Someone's got to expose the fact that the guy's more interested in sitting on the fence than actually leading. Hopkins is pushing back because she knows that if she doesn't, we'll all be stuck with a politician who believes that playing it safe somehow makes you a hero. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It makes you a laughingstock, and Starmer's about to be roasted for it.
Huge reaction to this interview in the Daily Telegraph, or column, this written column where Starmer made this proposal overnight. From Katie Hopkins: "Dear Keir Starmer, twat spangle, you want boots on the ground in Ukraine? Feel free to conscript every single illegal you've been flesh trading in the UK for pounds. They are well fed in fancy hotels and pretty handy with knives. Leave our British lads alone." And what?
Hopkins doesn't just tell it like it is, she does so with unapologetic force, making sure that Starmer understands the Emperor has no clothes, and it's time to get real about leading. She's cutting through all the fluff, showing us the real problem, led by a man who's too afraid to offend anyone, floating through politics without any meaningful change. So when Starmer's lack of decision-making is pointed out to him, when he's exposed for being out of touch with the very people he swore to serve, and when his fragile, hollow leadership is put on full display, well, it's about time. Someone had to do it, and Katie Hopkins was just the one to do it. The truth hurts, but sometimes it's the only thing that can shake a politician out of their delusional stupor. Starmer might want to keep playing his game of pandering and appeasing, but Hopkins isn't having it. She's here to call it like it is, and right now the reality is that Starmer is not fit for leadership.
Those who control the movement of human flesh, a slave trade unlike anything ever seen before in the past, are the leaders of the major religions, the leaders of political dynasties, and the banking scions.
At the end of the day, Starmer's failure to lead is something that we can all see, especially after watching Hopkins go in for the kill on his empty promises and lack of real progress. In a political landscape that demands leadership, Starmer has shown that he has none. It's time for the Labour Party to face facts. Starmer is not the future, and if they continue down this path, they'll soon be as irrelevant as the political promises Starmer makes